let's have a look at another Kasparov gem, and this time it's from his game against Sunye Neto from 1981. So this is before he became world champion. And this game is one that left a particular impression on me because it taught me how to reassess my attacking play in many aspects. And one of the big ways was how to evaluate the strength of certain pieces. And the fact that Kasparov truly believed that pieces don't necessarily mean a bishop, knight, rook and queen, but your pieces and your attacking pieces can also be your pawns and your king. And in this game, we're going to see how he really uses even his less valuable pieces as major attacking pieces. And the way, again, he conjures up an attack in just a few moves and then finishes off this game with one of the most spectacular motifs I've ever seen. Some of the ideas and configurations are just mind-blowing. And this game, certainly one of my favourites, not just of Kasparov, but of all time, by any player. So I'd like to join the game on move 32 with white to play. And we have an isolated queen's pawn position, Kasparov with black. And it's quite clear that Kasparov is slightly inferior here. White has got the two bishops, control over d4, and Kasparov hasn't got a clear plan in this position, so white's slightly better. Here he improved the position of his king with king g1, and now Kasparov finds the first move which allows him to produce this spectacular game. And it's not a spectacular move in itself, but it's the idea and the creativity of Kasparov's play. And here he plays the move knight e7. Now, what's the idea of this move? Well, apart from protecting the pawn on d5, which didn't really require protection anyway, the point is that Kasparov saw in this position before that the rook, queen, bishop and knight have some potential in an attack. After all, white's king at this moment in time only has one real defender in the knight, but there's no clear way to break through. So with knight e7, he found this idea of rerouting the final piece that was going to play a part in the attack to a useful square, which was f5. And suddenly the transformation of this knight from c6 to f5 means that the position changes in nature. Suddenly black has got four pieces in the attack, and the fragility of white's king side becomes a bit more apparent when that knight gets there, because suddenly the rook also comes across, and suddenly in a matter of moves all of these pieces can descend on the white king. So here white played knight d4, and without hesitation the rook went to g6, and now with the knight on d4 suddenly white's king has got no defenders. And let's see how Kasparov capitalizes on this fact. Well, bishop d3 was played, that's not a bad move at all, and here a nice little move by Kasparov, queen d7, so a backwards move, but now he has a clear threat of queen takes h3. Okay, so what to do? Well, white played the very natural king h1. This is the move that I would say the majority of chess players would play, because you want to get off the G file. I mean, the rook on G6 really makes that king feel uncomfortable. I know I, as white here, wouldn't like the fact the rook's sitting on G6 and the queen can come to H3. I might even play king H1 after very little thought. Actually, though, the best move apparently was to play with F3, but this is an extremely ugly looking move, because not only do you not stop the idea of queen takes H3, but you weaken all of these dark squares around the king side. Yes, the knight is pinned to the rook, I can see that, and yes, the rook starts to cover G2, but there's something very unnatural about that move. So I can totally understand why king H1 was played, but now the knight came to F5, and suddenly another opportunity has arisen. The fact that this knight doesn't have to stay on H5 but can come to H4. And if the knight gets to H4, then G2 is on pre. There are all sorts of sacrifices on G2 that can be made thanks to this threat of queen takes H3. So the attack is really starting to shape up now. And here, well, white starts to err under the pressure. He plays the move bishop takes E4, and after d takes E4, rook e d2. Well, rook e d2 again is natural in as much as white wanted to attack this queen indirectly, but it didn't quite work out for him, because now knight h4. And suddenly, if we just take stock here, let's see how the position has evolved since move 32. Well, white has lost the two bishops. Black has not only improved his attacking, the attacking position of his pieces, but he's also got rid of this isolated queen's pawn, which is a weakness. It's now pawn on e4. And this pawn on e4, as innocent as it may look now, is a crucial attacking piece. Yes, that's right, an attacking piece. It acts as a wedge in the white position. It supports the f3 and d3 squares, which, if you can envisage the king and the coming out from the corner, can be a really crucial couple of squares to occupy. So now, after knight h4, the g2 pawn is hanging, and it's clear that any move like rook g1 would be met. Rook g1 would be just met by rook takes g2 instantaneously. And after rook takes g2, well, I'm going to go over to you for a reasonably easy problem. Can you see how black would finish off the game in this position? Well, not too difficult indeed. Yes, queen takes h3 check would finish the game off at once, since after rook h2 blocking the check, queen f1 is checkmate, and if the king moves, then very simply queen takes g2 is checkmate. So there is an immediate threat on the g2 square. So what did Sunye Neto do? Well, he played the move knight e6. Again, any other move, for example, knight f5, uncovering this discovered attack is insufficient, because after queen takes f5, yes, black sacrifices an exchange, but what is the resulting position? Well, black has a knight, queen, rook, all attacking this white king, and white has 0 defenders. So despite being the material up, it's just over. And not to mention the fact this bishop could play a part and this pawn joins the party. So this position is just dead busted for white. Instead, Sunye Neto played knight e6, and this was his grand idea. But this allows Kasparov to exchange his queen for 2 rooks and reach the following position. Believe it or not, this is where the game starts to get really exciting, and we see some of the most beautiful mating configurations that you'll ever see. So join me in part 2 of this game to see exactly what happened and this incredible idea and set of ideas that Kasparov had. So we saw at the end of part 1 that Kasparov had just played the move rook takes d2. So he won 2 rooks for a queen. And here Sunye Neto with knight on pre played knight f4 attacking this rook. Kasparov moved it up to g5. And now the concept of putting this king in a mating net starts to come into play. So the king on h1, it's got some breathing space at the moment, but clearly it's going to come under fire. There's also a problem with its f2 pawn. So white played king g1 to protect the pawn. But now, after knight f3 check, already the position may be lost. So let's see what happens. Well, if the king goes back into the corner, the idea that Kasparov had, and just an incredible configuration concept, was to play the move bishop takes e3. So black crashes through, and after f takes e3, then Kasparov saw the wonderful rook d takes g2. Incredible. So he sacrificed a bishop, now he sacrifices a rook. And the point is that after knight takes g2, well, the point is that he has a way to finish the game off. He has a winning move here. It would be almost criminal for me not to ask you guys at home to try and solve this one. So what move? He's almost a queen and a bishop down almost, but what move does Kasparov have here to finish the game off? A wonderful concept. Can you see it? Well, if you did see it, congratulations. Yes, the concept is revolved around this poorly placed king and the fact that there would be checkmate either from this or this file. And so Kasparov played rook g3, introducing the idea of rook takes h3 checkmate, and if the knight moves, rook g1 is checkmate. So it's just absolutely incredible, this imagination and this idea. I have to admit, I can't think of anywhere else where this has happened, so I'm not sure where Kasparov got his inspiration from, but the concept is just superb. And even after bishop takes e3, if white tries something else, for example, knight e6, to complicate matters, then rook takes f2, g takes f3, rook f1 check, king h2, and e takes f3 is winning, threatening rook g2 checkmate. And the point is that if you now win this rook, then black has another checkmate with bishop f4. Just absolutely amazing how many different original and unique configurations Kasparov has in this position and saw. So after knight f3 check, then king h1 loses on the spot. And after king f1, well, Sunye Neto got the same treatment. Bishop takes e3. Just a wonderful, wonderful move. Here, again, f takes e3 was played. And if he doesn't, if he tries another knight move, let's say knight e2, then we see another marvellous finish. Knight h2 check, king e1, and now rook takes g2 is a beautiful move, just ignoring this bishop, because after queen takes e3, knight f3 check, king f1. Again, it's over to you guys at home. Can you see what Kasparov had in mind in this particular position? It's rather beautiful. Well, yes, it's incredible. It seems like he can just give up as many pieces as he wants in this game. The king is so close to being checkmated, and I mentioned how important the pawn covering the f3 square for a knight was a little earlier on. And here, rook g1 check is absolutely brilliant stuff. The point being that after knight takes g1 only move, rook d1 check, and wherever the king goes, it's checkmate. So king g2, well, we take the knight with checkmate, and king e2, rook e1 is checkmate. And this mating pattern is one you should all remember with the knight, pawn and rook like so. It's going to come up quite frequently in your own games, in fact. So that one is well worth remembering. But beautiful stuff, sacrificing more or less his whole army to get there once again. So after bishop takes e3, Sunye Neto saw this, played f takes e3. But again, the concept of this sacrificing doesn't stop, because now Kasparov plays rook d takes g2. My apologies. And here there are all sorts of threats, the big one being knight d2 check. So white has to move the queen and played queen c3, which is a good move. And this sets a little trap a little while down the line, because after rook h2, well, now black is threatening another mating formation with rook g1 mate. Sunye Neto defended against it with knight e2, and we see Kasparov show his world class by playing the move king h7. That really is the move of a top grandmaster, a world-class grandmaster. And the point is that you must always be careful, even when you get excited with the position. Don't get too carried away. Remember about your own king, always. Because after rook g2, which is the move that Kasparov wants to play, of course, setting up just a deadly configuration of these pieces on the 7th and 6th rank, the point is that queen c8 check manages to save the game for white. And after king h7, queen f5 check, it's going to be repetition after king g8. So that would have spoiled an absolute gem of a game so far. King h7 then manages to act as a prophylactic move. So now rook gt2 is a threat because white doesn't have a check. Well, here Sunye Neto played queen c8. A move like queen b4 to attack the e-pawn would have been met by f5. And here, if a move like queen b5, then this runs into yet another pawn coming up the board. f4. Absolutely stunning stuff. Attacking the queen. The queen can come back. Now, it looks as though this pawn is going to be lost, but actually Kasparov sacrifices yet another piece, plays knight d2 check to distract the queen away from the attack of that pawn. And the point is that now, after queen takes d2, rook h1 check, king f2 only move, and f3. And what Kasparov would often say, and his own theory on the attack and philosophy, if I can call it that, is that actually by playing knight d2 with check, he doesn't really sacrifice a piece, because this f-pawn, having rolled up the board, suddenly becomes a major attacking piece. So actually it's more of a swap, one knight for one pawn, but the pawn is so powerful in the position that it should be counted as an attacking piece. And here after f3, of course, the position is busted. Another checkmate with rook g2 is threatened, and after knight g3, rook h2 check, winning the queen is just game over. So nothing seems to work for white here. He played queen c8 in the game, but now after rook h1 check, king f2, Kasparov played knight d2, introducing yet another checkmate with rook f1. And Sunye Neto had enough, because after knight g3, stopping rook f1, simply rook h2 check, king e1, knight f3 check, king f1, and rook takes b2. And these rooks, and with the knight combination, is just deadly. The knight can't move because of rook g1 mate, and well, white can just resign here. There's no way to stop all of the threats. So a wondrous display by Kasparov, one of my favourite games. Incredible imagination, creativity, and I really think that this concept of the mating net, the different configurations, the power of rooks on the 7th, all of these ideas are something we can take away from this game. So I hope you have enjoyed this presentation, and I hope you really use a lot of the ideas from this game in your own.
Hi, this is Grandmaster Damian Lemos. First of all, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to receive more free chess videos from us, you can just click the subscribe button below. I would also highly recommend signing up for my free mail course, the 10 Grandmaster Secrets to Dominate Chess. During this exclusive course from onlinechesslessons.net, I'll share with you my own Grandmaster shortcuts to effective attacking, defending, and growth hacks to improving your chess without complicated books or memorization. So sign up by clicking the sidebar on the right, and I know you won't be disappointed. Once more, this is Damian for onlinechesslessons.net, and I'll see you in my videos. Thank you.